Welcome back to the shop. Last week I got my 220 plug put in, so that's one step closer to me getting my dust collection set up. So in today's video I'm going to be mounting my dust collector on the wall. I want to get it on the wall to free up some floor space as well as make it into a two-stage collector so it's more efficient. I'm Michael and this is Make Your Play. It's a hot one today. I think it's going to get up to like 99 today, which is going to make it for a sweaty day in the shop, but any day in the shop's a good day. I decided to run the fans today to try to stay a little cool. So I start this project by disassembling the dust collector as I'm going to rearrange these parts and mount them to the wall. Just a matter of removing all the screws and it comes apart fairly easily, although that blower is very heavy. Now that I've gotten the dust collector all disassembled, I laid it out on the floor so I can move the pieces around and figure out what's the best orientation for it on the wall when I mount it. So here's what I've come up with. I like that I'm going to actually use the corner of my shop with the idea that the dust collection will mount to one wall while the dust filter is going to mount to the adjacent wall. Here's what that configuration looks like laying out on the floor with the dust collector motor. Will be attached to the wall on this side. This will hold the actual filter, which will be attached to the wall from behind. And then I have the dust collection can that will sit underneath. I think this is going to work well. I'm going to build a frame out of 2x4s. I'll be able to actually put them on the 2x4s, even tilt it up into place, and then I'll screw those 2x4s to the wall to hold it in place. But all the load bearing will actually be on the 2x4s stretching all the way down to the floor. So I build this out of 2x4s and a couple 2x6s and some scrap plywood I had around. Everything's going to be assembled with pocket screws. It's a fairly simple build, just attaching the 2x6s to the 2x4s, and then the filter base is going to be held on by these brackets. It doesn't need this many screws, but I thought for aesthetics I wanted to have these screws in there and equally spaced. Normally I just slap the screws in and don't worry about what it looks like, but thought this time I would take my time and actually make this look half decent. I use my punch to make sure screws go in where I'd like them to go. Next, the base of the filter is bolted onto the frame using carriage bolts. I do one on each side and one in the back. I love it when the drill bit falls out right there at the end. I don't know how many times that happens to me with these chuckless drills. Everything goes on with a washer, a locking washer, and a nut, because I don't make sure with all the vibration, none of these nuts come loose. After I assembled this, I realized I was about 5 inches too short, so that's why you see me adding an extra 2x6 on the bottom here to raise it up so that it matches the height of the blower. And then 2 screws at the top is where the lag bolts are going to go through into the studs in the wall. So I've got the frame for the filter built. That's going to be mounted to the wall right here. And then I have a canister filter that sits on top of this, a little short plastic bag that'll hang underneath it. So next step is to build the mount for the blower, which will go on the wall behind me. So let's get to that. For the blower, it goes together just like it did for the filter. Some 2x4s, 2x6s, all put together with pocket screws. And I cut myself a piece of plywood, which is what I'm actually going to mount the blower on. Here I center the blower on the piece of plywood. I mark where I need to draw my holes for my carriage bolts to go through. In here I'm drilling all the way through 2x4s as well, because I want to bolt straight through the plywood into the 2x4s to make it nice and rigid. My lag bolts aren't quite as long as I want them to be, so here I'm going to countersink a little more so that my lag bolts will go deeper into the studs in the wall. I create myself a quick little template to guide my Forster bit so that it makes it easier to cut. Here I am mounting the blower onto its stand, again using carriage bolts. There are 2 on top, 2 on bottom, and 1 on each side. Now, this blower, as I mentioned, is really heavy, so it was a bit of a struggle to get it leaned up against the wall, but I got it up there. A couple quick kicks gets it into the final position, and then a lag bolt goes through the bottom into the stud in the wall, as well as a lag bolt goes through the top. Same thing for the filter, 2 lag bolts on the top into studs, holds it in place. And I put an extra 2x4 here just to make sure if those 2 lag bolts were to come out of the blower, that 2x4 still would hold it in place. Now I put the filter on, hook up all the hoses, and give it a test. That worked out really well. Just a little bit of sawdust made it into the bag, the rest stayed into the trash can. And there you have it.